Hello Booktube, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Marilyn and I'm back. Well, at least you can see my face now. My last video was done just with my voice and my hands because I was experiencing, and I'm still experiencing, a lot of chronic pain. And but I took an Advil, so I'm okay for now. And I'm so excited to be back with you for what I call an amazing April. And why is it an amazing April? Because I have some book events that I'm going to take part in, and I'm going to do it very chill, because last month I really went all out for March Mystery Madness, and I need a break. But I am so excited about the books that I'm going to show you. So let's talk about the events first. Well, first there's People April. And People April is being hosted by Elizabeth at Bookins and Books. And now I hope I say this right. Roz at Scally Dandling Around the Books. And it's a event about people. I'm going to leave the information down below, and you can see it has prompts, but the main thing is to read one book about people. Could be a memoir, a biography, an autobiography, a diary, letters, and I am going to show you a few books that I'm going to try to get to. The first book has been on. Let me just tell you that there's a second readathon that that kind of intertwines with this one, and that's being hosted by Katie at Books and Things, and it's called the Clear Out Readathon, where she had this in 2020, and she brought it back, where you're clearing out your TBR from your shelves. Because for me, I take out a lot of books from the library, and when I do that, I kind of ignore the books that I have on my shelves, and they never get read. So this is a good chance for me to do that, and at the same time talk about People April. So my first book, People April, it's a companion piece to Fragments of Isabella by Isabella Leitner. And I did a short about this book, a sort of short review of this book, and I'll have that down below, so I'm not going to repeat myself, but basically it's an Auschwitz memoir, and it says that it's a heart-wrenching, unforgettable book, luminous and moving work. It's very short, it's poetic or moving, whatever you want to call it, but there is a companion piece that I've had on my shelves that I haven't read. And this is Saving the Fragments, From Auschwitz to New York. It says it's touching, haunting, and beautiful, a worthy companion to Isabella Leitner's Fragments of Isabella. And she's created something unique, the memory of an innocent who, among all that is awful, managed to find acts of love. And so in this powerful sequel to the highly acclaimed Fragments of Isabella, she vividly recreates what happened when the Allies advanced through the smoldering ruins of Europe to save thousands of broken souls from certain death. And I'm going to read you sort of a introduction, but it's part of the book. The sun made a desperate effort to shine on the last day of May in 1944. The sun is warm in May, it heals. But even the heavens were helpless on that day. A force so evil ruled heaven and earth that it altered the natural order of the universe, and the heart of my mother was floating in the smoke-filled sky of Auschwitz. I have tried to rub the smoke out of my vision for 40 years now, but my eyes are still burning, Mother. That's very heart-wrenching and very well written. If Fragments of Isabella is anything to go by, because she's a wonderful writer. I was reading somewhere in another book that I'm reading that I'm not going to talk about today, that people can write a lot of words that are meaningless and tell the same story in less words that are meaningful. And I'm a big believer in that. So if you want to try this, I'm going to try to get to this this month. My next book is has been sitting on my shelves like forever, and it's Michelle Taya, a queer writer, and it's her book, How to Grow Up. Now, I read one other book by Michelle Taya, and it was called Valencia, and it was a 2000 Lambda Literary Award-winning novel, an autobiographical novel detailing the narrator's experience in San Francisco's queer subculture. And in this book, she's older, you can see the picture, and it says, as an aspiring young writer in San Francisco, Valencia, Michelle Taya lived in a scuzzy communal house. She drank, smoked, snorted anything she got her hands on. She toiled for minimum wage, and she dated men and women, and sometimes both at once. But between hangovers and dead-end jobs, she scrawled in notebooks. She scrawled in notebooks and organized dive bar poetry readings, working to make her literary dreams real. And she did write a few books. I've only read Valencia. In How to Grow Up, Taya shares her awkward stumble toward the life of a bona fide, grown-up, healthy, responsible, self-aware, stable. She writes about passion, about her fraught relationship with money, about adoring Barneys while shopping at thrift stores, about breakups and the fertile ground between relationships, about roommates and rent, and about being superstitious. Why not? It imbues this harsh world of ours with a bit of magic. It says it's heartwarming and darkly comic. I haven't read this book. I've had it. Let me see when it was published, 2015, and I think I got it shortly after that, and I still haven't read it. So it's also a People April book. It's autobiographical, and it's also clearing out my shelves. So let's see if I get to that. If I don't like it, I'm not going to read it, but I'm going to try it. Valencia was a little hard for me to read. It's pretty brutal. And I think she has another book called Rent Girl. I haven't read that either. But I really thought that her writing was excellent. It was just the subject that I couldn't really, not the gay part, it was just the drugs and everything that I couldn't really connect with. But let's see if she did grow up, okay? Now, I'm going to talk about a book that I'm very excited to read. Two books that I'm very excited to read. One is on my shelf for a long time, and it was written in 1926, and it's by Sylvia Townsend Warner, and it's called Loi Willows. And I made another short video where I talked about an author it was a mystery, and it mentioned like every literary person that you can think of, including, it was a mystery, but it was like a literary mystery, including all of the women literary greats, as well as even George Simeon, who I was surprised that, he was a man, but I'm reading him, and I did have this book on my shelf. And it's about an older woman, which I like to read books about older women. And it says, it's a great shout of life and individuality, an act of defiance that gladdens the soul. Now you have to understand that this was written in 1926. And here's a picture of the author, Sylvia Townsend Warner. Let's see if you can see it. She looks like a very interesting person. And so what is it about, right? So Loi Willow, so gentle and accommodating, has depths no one suspects. When she suddenly announces that she is leaving London and moving alone to the depths of the countryside, Her overbearing relatives are horrified, but Lolly has a greater, far darker calling than family, witchcraft. I don't know how I feel about witchcraft, but I'm really for a woman at that 1926 being not conforming to what women should do. Someone says, Helen McDonald, the book I'll be pressing into people's hands forever. It tells the story of a woman who rejects the life that society has fixed for her in favor of freedom, tips suddenly into extraordinary lucid wildness. Witty, eerie, tender. This is John Updike speaking. Her prose, in its simple, abrupt evocations, has something preternatural about it, which is really, and the cover is gorgeous. And I think this is a newish cover. So I'm interesting to see how this book is going to play out in 1926. She was a homeschooled only child, musically gifted, and she planned to study composition in Vienna. She was born in 1893, so we're talking a long time ago, and it's wonderful to see women writers writing about older women who break the mold for that day. So I'm excited about reading this. It was also on my shelves for quite a while. Now, what I'm most excited about reading this month, it was a recommendation from Lindy at Lindy's Magpie Reads, and I was very happy to find it at my library, and it's called Stillborn, a novel by Guadalupe Nettel. Let me see. It's a library book, so it might not be very good to show you. It's not that great a cover, but it's very pink with black lettering, and it was shortlisted for the International Booker Prize. And what is it about? Alina and Laura are independent and career-driven women in their mid-30s. Neither have built the future around the prospect of a family. Laura is so, in Spanish it's Laura. Laura is so determined not to become a mother that she has her tubes tied. But when she announces this to her friend, she learns that Alina has made the opposite decision and is preparing to have a child. And I should tell you that she's a Mexican author, and this was translated by Rosalind Harvey. And I'm just going to read you the first sentence, and it excited me for some reason, because it's not that it's so out there as a sentence, but it just made me want to read it. And I think that's what makes a book special to me, that it makes me want to read it, even if the first sentence isn't, well, there's two parts of that made me excited. The first part is actually one. A couple of weeks ago, some new neighbors moved into the apartment next door. It's a woman with a little boy who seems dissatisfied with life, to say the least. And I'll go a little further because that made me want to read further. I've not seen him yet, but I can tell this just by listening to him. So, and in the introduction, it says, which I should have read you first, watching a baby as it sleeps is to contemplate the fragility of all life. So I'm very interested, excited to read this book. It's translated fiction. It's Booker Prize shortlisted, and I can see why, because it's already on the top of my list of books that I want to read in April. Another book that I forgot to mention in People April, and I don't have it with me right now, is by Helen Russel. It's Living Danishly. And so what is it about? I've always been very, had a thing for Denmark all my life. I had a pen pal who was Danish, and I got to visit Denmark in the 70s, no, the 80s. So that already got my attention. So Helen Russel, this is what it's about. Helen Russel had her dream job working for glossy women's magazine in London, writing lifestyle pieces that told her readers how they can have it all. Isn't that, no one can have it all. You can have some of it, but not all. The problem was she didn't believe it. I felt like a fraud. She wasn't at all happy. Then her husband landed a job at Denmark's most successful company, Lego. And as Denmark is famously the country with the most contented citizens, she decides to find out the secret to being happy, which is, after all, the holy grail of the lifestyle journalist. The result is a hugely enjoyable romp through the pleasures and pitfalls of setting up home in a foreign land, and not in stylish Copenhagen, but in rural Jutland. So I'm excited about getting to that book as well. So I deliberately wanted my April to be chill because March was a roller coaster in many ways. And I'm glad that I can participate in all of these events in April, and there's probably more that I might want to participate in a calm way. If I don't like a book, I'm going to DNF it right away, and I'm going to read what I want to read first. I'm still reading, or beginning to read, Like a Mule Bringing Ice Cream to the Sun, the Nigerian author that was also shortlisted for the Goldsmiths Prize in 2015 by Sarah Ladipo Manyika. And is this a title that sounds just wonderful to you? So that's on the top of my list, along with Stillborn. But I'm definitely going to put People April on my radar for sure, because it's a wonderful, I love memoirs. I even wrote a memoir, so I love good memoirs. It's very hard to write a good memoir, believe me, I know. And I've read many a terrible memoir in my life. But you don't have to read a memoir. You can read a biography, an autobiography, like I was saying. There's a lot of letters that I've been interested in too. In fact, that's how I heard about Sylvia Townsend Warner, was letters that she wrote during her life. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed my April, my amazing April. Of course I have to make it bigger than it is. Reading plans. And I'm going to have some exciting plans for May. I'm also going to Canada in May, and I'm going to see Lindy from Lindy's Magpie Reads, and I'm so excited. I don't know how long I'm going to be able to travel with, a lot of pain that I'm in. So I'm taking the chance now while I have the chance. Of course, I'm bringing my daughter, and she's going to help me with any difficulties that I have on the trip. And but there is going to be an event that's taking place in May, and I'm going to tell you more about it later on. And I plan to also do a very chill month, an event with this, but it's an important one to me, just like March Mystery Madness was important to me. So I hope that you like this video and you'll comment, like, and subscribe if so inclined. I really, really enjoyed reading everyone's suggestions for all of these events, and watching their videos, their announcement videos, and I'll have all of that down below, I promise. And until we meet again, I'm so happy to be here in person. And I wish you all a wonderful weekend. And until then, I wish you the best of health, and as always, aloha.